Appeals for November 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We will start with a prayer and pledge. If you will, please stand. Start with prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. Please give us the wisdom, discernment to make the best decisions for our residents and for our town. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. You'll face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Vanessa and Jay. Before we move to citizens' comments, I'd like to welcome our new member, Ken Hill. Ken will be replacing Phil Wilson, finishing Phil's term through March of 25. We're hoping that he loves this so much that he can't wait to stay on past that. So welcome, Ken. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We got a full board tonight, which is always the goal, so I appreciate you being here. Citizens' comments. Mitch, anything?
None at this time.
All right. Number 4 on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the September 2024 meeting. Those minutes are in your packet. We did not meet in October, so this is a couple of months old. Any adjustments or corrections? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We have 2 items for new business tonight. We have a setback variance and a zoning variance. The setback variance is for Jasper Fitzhugh, 4022 Wisdom Way.
This is a front setback variance of 25 feet along Serenity Court for a detached garage carport structure. The property is zoned R3, which is medium density residential. It's just over a quarter acre in size. This property does have 2 front setbacks to meet on Wisdom Way and Serenity Court. The minimum front yard setback requirement in this district is 35 feet for accessory structures. As presented, the structure would be located approximately 3 feet from the dwelling and may require additional fire safety precautions to be installed either on the dwelling and or on the proposed structure. The applicant is requesting to place the carport behind an existing fence in addition. Section 7.08D of the zoning ordinance detail requirements for variances not involving special flood hazard areas, and they are detailed below. The board shall not grant a variance unless it makes findings based upon evidence presented as follows. The particular physical surroundings, shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner is distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict application of this ordinance were carried out must be stated. Staff finds that the property does not have any unique circumstances in regards to physical surroundings, shape, or topographic conditions. The conditions upon which a petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property in the same district. The property is a corner lot and has 2 front setbacks to meet for any structure. The 2 front setbacks create a constricted area for any structures to be placed in the rear yard. The variance will not authorize activities in a zoned district other than those permitted by this ordinance. Detached structures are allowed within the R3 district but are to adhere to all setback requirements. Financial returns shall not be considered as a basis for granting a variance. The applicant has not identified financial returns as a reason for this request. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date of this ordinance. The applicant is the homeowner but was not involved with the creation of the lot nor the construction of the residence. That granting of the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Staff finds that the variance requested could provide the applicant with special privileges denied by the ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the R3 district due to the structure encroaching upon front setback. However, other properties in the same zoning district have requested variances from the BZA in previous years with similar situations and have received approval. The variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Staff finds that the requested setback variance may not be the minimum to make the reasonable use of the structure for the proposed use. The structure could be relocated to the north side of the residence within the fence to meet setback requirements, on the front setback at least. In addition, the side setback variance would likely be required in that situation if it were relocated on the north side of the dwelling due to the location being closer to the side lot line when we get to the picture, it'll help explain it, seeing it visually, what I'm talking about here. So you do have either which way presented, you're either meeting the front setback or you're not meeting the side setback. So one of the ways we're still needing a variance. The applicant has presented as it is tonight on the south side of the residence due to the location of the driveway being closer to where the proposed carport structure would be located. So that was the reason for the where it is being presented tonight. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area in which the property is located. Staff finds that the variance should not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. The proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, substantially increase the congestion in public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values. Staff finds that the variance may not have any of the above effects. Number 10 is not applicable in this case. In conclusion, staff finds that the property is a corner lot in which 2 front setbacks are required to be met for any structure. There is an existing fence which the structure would be located behind as presented tonight. There is an adequate space on the lot to locate the structure to meet the front setback, but would likely require a side setback variance due to the distance between the dwelling and the side lot line in conjunction with the size of the structure requested. If the request is approved, this does not preclude the applicant from adhering to any additional code or fire safety requirements. So, Christie can speak to this better than I can for distance requirements, if we need some more explanation on this, but ideally we're keeping the structure at least 5 feet away from the dwelling, and once again, there still may be some additional fire safety requirements required at that time, but before we set that up, this couple pictures taken from the property. This is along Wisdom Way. This is where the applicant's driveway is, and we'd have the carport sitting right here behind the fence in this location. And this is taken from the back corner, if you will, on Serenity. And the structure will be located right here behind the fence. So here's the overhead view to give you a better idea of what we're talking about here. So this would be as presented by the applicant to us, that is the desired location. That's sitting about 3 foot off of the dwelling in this area, and that would be about 10 feet off of the property line. What I was mentioning earlier with the relocation of it to meet the front setback would be sitting kind of in this general vicinity right here. Putting it about 5 feet off the home would mean about 3 foot off the property line, give or take. So, as I mentioned, you're going to need a variance no matter what situation we're looking at here tonight, but this is as presented here as the applicant has requested. Obviously, we can discuss numbers and switch some things around here and there if needed, but this is everything as presented to you, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I have one question. You mentioned 5 foot from the dwelling, but you said the picture looks like it's about 3 foot from the dwelling. So if we were considering right where he has positioned it, ideally it would still be 5 foot from the house, which would actually move it closer to that property line a
Correct.
couple of feet, correct?
Yep, we'd be looking at about a 28-foot variance instead of a 25-foot.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mitch before we go to public hearing?
So is this a garage or is it a carport?
It is a carport. The applicant could probably better explain it. It's a metal carport structure.
Enclosed walls with a door or no door?
Door, I believe, yes. Applicant could better describe that than I can, but I do believe there would be a door on it.
Yeah, any calls?
Just one call from a neighbor, more of a inquiry of what was going on, more than anything else.
If it had walls, would it be required to have the same materials that the houses?
Not
Brick and
necessarily. Certain HOAs, if there were an HOA, may require it, but that is something separate from what we would review, being it is an HOA, if there were an HOA. I'm not sure if there is. But that'd be a separate thing that would be on the applicant to do the research for.
Any other questions? All right, let's close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. Assume, are you Mr. Fitzhugh? Yeah, if you'd like to speak, if you come up, it sounds like we have a few questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you come up and just state your name and address for the record.
Name Jasper Fitzhugh, address is 4022 Western Way,
Excellent,
Smyrna. We just moved there just a month and a half ago,
excellent.
so we enjoying the town, Smyrna.
So, I think the questions that Ken had, if you want to ask him, Ken, about the walls and door or whatever.
Yeah, y'all thinking about just a garage?
Yeah,
Because I
just
see
a-
the two, the carport and the garage is two different things.
Just a metal building, you know, they bring it out, put it together. It got, let-up doors on it, chain doors come up.
So it's enclosed though?
Yes, sir.
It's completely enclosed?
It'll be
Okay.
enclosed. I want to get it the same color as the house, you know, yeah.
Okay, and are you doing, I assume you're gonna pour or put some
Yes, sir.
driveway over to it so you can
Put
pull
a
in and out?
concrete,
So the way it's designed, you've got it completely behind the fence?
Yes, sir.
But I'm assuming the front side where the fence is there would be open so
Be-
you get in and out, right?
be open, yes,
But
sir.
the other two sides would be completely behind the fence?
Yes,
And you
sir.
plan to keep that in place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't see the size, 22 by 24, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
It
that's
could
under
be
the
smaller.
600.
It
Yeah,
could-
we're
We
520.
could go smaller if we
Okay.
had to.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Yes, sir.
On a, anything under a half acre, you're limited to 600 square feet. So
Okay.
you're 520, so I think you're fine.
528, yep.
Okay.
Do you know, are you in an HOA, out of curiosity?
Yes, sir.
HOA, do you know if you're?
Oh,
in an
no,
HOA?
sir. No, sir. No HOA. When we bought it, it said no HOA, but the HOA is back behind us on that hill up there. They got the sign on our street, but the HOA is back at that new part they just put in.
Just curious.
Yes, sir.
But the CC&Rs still exist?
I don't know if the covenant restrictions would or not. What year was this built, do you know? Are there any restrictions deeded?
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be applicable any longer. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Fitzhugh? Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else would like to speak for or against? Sure, if you could also state your name for the record.
Yolanda Fitzhugh. I just had, just for the safety as well, coming in and, people breaking in cars and whatever. And the garage is a two, but it's only made for one,
I understand.
which it was put up wrong some kind of way, so yeah.
I got you.
That's all I got to say for safety.
Yeah.
People running around pulling on your doors at night,
Right.
so.
Yep, that's unfortunately happening around town too
Yeah,
often,
so
so.
I'm kind of concerned coming in at night too, by myself, so.
Understood, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Todd, you look bored. Okay, all right, in that case, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion. The one thing that I'll mention, Mitch mentioned in his staff comments a little bit, we had a very similar request that comes to my mind in Living Springs, probably 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. It's the first house on the left when we came in, very similar. They had a carport, wanted to convert it to a garage. The carport was never approved, but it had been there for years. Behind the fence, two corner setbacks, so very similar. We did approve that one. We did put a stipulation that it stayed behind the fence, that he didn't build it and then take the fence down, that it stayed behind the fence. But for consistency, I know that we have approved a very similar request in Living Springs. It's just been a couple of years, I think, since we saw one of those. I don't have any other questions or comments. I think, obviously applicable zoning would be required. I think the 5 foot, I'd rather grant additional setback to keep the 5 foot distance from the house if that's the option. That way, for fire purposes, if one of them catches on fire, 5 foot's the minimum, right? So, I think that's where we're at. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Are y'all gonna run power in there?
No, sir.
All right, anything? Nothing? If not, we'll entertain a motion. I think to stay the 5 foot, Mitch, you had said 28 feet would be what
Correct.
was required. instead
That'd
of
be
the,
on
instead of
28
the
foot on
25.
So it's 3 foot, it would be the 25. Getting that extra 2 feet puts you up. So, and we're just bringing a little bit extra in just in case that property line isn't where it is on the map.
So I'm clear, 25 or 28?
28.
28, okay. Yeah,
Opposite of what I'm thinking.
yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, is it going the wrong way? Should it be 19?
Right.
Yeah, it's right, 28. All right, anybody?
I will make a motion to approve the request with staff comments, but amending the variance to 28 feet as opposed to 25 feet to allow for extra room for safety around the fire requirements.
All right, did you want to include a fence or no?
And then it must stay behind the fence.
Okay,
Is that
all
not
right,
in
we're
there?
good with that? Let's stay behind the fence, all right? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, Ken or Scott, whichever one you want.
Doesn't
Whoever's
matter.
Writing back there. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the variance is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is for Miss Courtney Brownlow. I'm trying to get it up here. It is a zoning variance for a fitness facility. So Mitch,
Yeah, Smyrna Strength and Fitness LLC is proposing to locate their business at 515 Huntley Industrial Drive. They would be the only tenant in that building. At least one of the owners currently operates a facility in Franklin and has for the past 5 years. Additionally, the applicant or applicants were involved with other facilities here in Smyrna between 2014 and 2022. Staff on site would be between the hours of 5:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. And the applicants expect peak hours between the hours of 5:30 and 8 a.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Maximum staff present would be 1 or 2 people. The facility would be an access facility, which would allow the members to access the facility outside of normal business hours. There's approximately 14 parking spaces on site. Typical classes would have around 6 to 8 participants, and if needed, the hours could be restricted for facility usage during those non-class participants during those peak hours to reduce the oddity if there were to be an excessive amount of people parking on the site. We don't want to have those spilling off into Huntley Industrial. So clients would have a consultation with staff to determine their best goals for their journey. In addition, a higher membership price would help regulate the number of clients to a lower than a traditional facility that we'd have here in town. The property at 515 Huntley Industrial Drive has had 2 BZA requests previously for special exceptions. One in 2002 for a contract construction service, which was approved, and one in 2014 for the use of a gym, and that was approved as well. The approval granted in 2014 had 2 conditions on that. The approval would expire after 1 year if the applicant had not occupied the space, and no parking to be allowed on Huntley Industrial Drive. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance detail requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and they are detailed below. A conditional use permit shall be provided the board finds that it is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Staff finds that the proposed use of a general personal service use should not negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it is to be located. Staff finds that the proposed use should not negatively affect the property in the area in which it is to be located. Is within provisions of special exceptions as set forth in the ordinance. Section 5.053.1C lists general personal service as a special exception within the I-1 district. Conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the district in which it is to be located, as well as provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for the public convenience and location plan. Staff finds that the site may be able to conform to the provisions of the municipal zoning ordinance as listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Ingress and egress to the property. Access to the site would utilize the existing shared single access point off of Huntley Industrial Drive with the adjoining tract to the east. Off-street parking and loading were required with particular attention to item 1 above. Staff finds that the building is an existing structure which has been in operation for several businesses throughout years prior without issue. Parking will need to be addressed accordingly to ensure no vehicles park on Huntley Industrial Drive. Refuse and service areas. Refuse collection will need to be coordinated with a local company for proper disposal and collection of any waste. Utilities. This location does have access to all utilities, including gas, water, and sewer. Screening and buffering, not applicable in this case as it is an existing building and no additional buffering would be required based on the proposed use. Signs. Staff finds that the proposed use of a gym would fit the compatibility with properties in the same district in reference to the above effects. Lighting may not shine beyond the property lines if installed on the exterior of the building. Required yard and other open space. Staff finds that there is adequate space in this lot to support the proposed use as the lot is already developed. General compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district. Staff finds that the use may be compatible with adjacent industrial properties and others in the same district as several properties zone I-1 have received special exception approval for non-industrial uses in the past. Number 9 is not applicable in this case. In conclusion, staff finds that the use of a gym on the property would be compatible with surrounding industrial properties as well as other I-1 zone properties within the town, as a variety of other special exceptions have been granted previously for other similarly zoned properties. A previous approval was granted by the BZA for the same use on this tract, but that approval has expired based on the conditions set forth at that time in 2014. If approved, staff would recommend that a condition is placed that no parking be used on Huntley Industrial Drive. So this is the property in question. This was taken on the opposite side of Huntley Industrial. This is that single access point used. You can see the other building on the east side, and this is the subject tract that we were talking about. Just a closer up look, you got the parking on the front of the building, and then right here is parking as well along the side of the building. And here's an overhead view showing the track, and then obviously that track to the east as well. But that is the property where they'd be using for their business.
All right, great, thank you, Mitch. Any questions for Mitch? So I think the key points there was this was approved twice for other businesses, 2002, 2014. So I'm assuming in 14 it never actually was used, even though it was approved, it never became one.
Yeah, something happened with the applicant at that time, just probably never moved into it, or
Gotcha.
obviously since then has not been a gym continuous, so that's good.
Okay. Questions, comments for Mitch?
I like the time. I don't think we put an expiration on.
No, we haven't, usually
Recently,
because
anyway.
they're waiting to get started
Right.
usually, so. But yeah, you can definitely do that, just so that it's not grandfathered in forever.
Right.
Because usually exemptions do stay with the property, so.
Right. So like if we were, like in this case, if it was a gym, it's a gym forever.
Now, I
Or
think
not necessarily
if
forever.
they start it and continuous use it, then it can continue as that anyway. The exemption stays in effect as long as it starts, right? If you did the 1 year restriction.
If you did it.
Yeah, but once they opened and started, then it becomes gym use forever at that point, as long as it stays active, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah, just like a car lot, kind of.
Okay. So it wasn't like once it's done,
No.
once they're done,
No,
after
it's
a
just,
year, then
it was
falls off.
basically that they had to do it within a year. and
Okay.
If they didn't, then it
Got it.
was reversed.
Not the other way.
basically. Right.
Once it's no longer a gym for a
Right.
year, then it goes away and somebody else has to request it.
Right,
That's,
yeah.
okay. Not that. Got it.
Okay, all right. If there's nothing else, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. Certainly don't have to, but if you would like to.
I'll just say hi.
Yeah, stating your name and your address for the
Courtney
record.
Brownlow, owner, partner of Smyrna Strength and Fitness. We're excited to open. And if approved, we'll be open before Christmas, so come check us out.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Courtney played in Smyrna Adult Softball League for
Right.
a number of years, was one of our co-ed members. Her husband Daniel and her played with us. Scott and I ran that league for many years, so I know Courtney from that, so thanks.
I do have one quick question. Is this like a regular type of a gym, or is it more of what type of a fitness facility is this? Is it more specific or just general?
Yeah, so our primary focus is like coaching services, right? So that is like you're hiring a coach either in a group class setting or like one-on-one or semi-private personal training. Something that we're doing uniquely to this one that I've not done in a previous gym that I've owned is offering 24-hour access, but not for just like anybody, right? It's like you kind of want to, you don't want to contend with like one of the franchise gyms or have to fight for space or whatever, and we're going to have very specific like equipment for people that are just seeking like really good strength training equipment in kind of a private setting. So there will be like a key card access that people could come in at 2 a.m. and do that if they had that membership, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I won't be there at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're on call. One more question, Courtney. The 14 parking spots essentially, you see, I know you said most of your classes will be much smaller than that, but do you see that gonna be a problem, you think? I mean, what are
No,
you thinking?
I don't think so. So I had a gym off of 3 Industrial for a number of years, and we were pretty limited on spots, and that worked out. And then we were off Weekly Lane, and I don't think we ever had a parking issue. The issue that I could find, if there was one, would be if people wanting access and people wanting coaching services are coming up at the same time. But that's where we would just then limit access, right, and focus on the coaching services during those hours. So we have control to turn on and turn off like the access side of the business.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else that would like to speak for or against? Still bored, Todd? Don't see anyone. I think he was asleep that time.
Well, you woke him up.
He's awake now. Close the public hearing and open the Board of Zoning Appeals back up for discussion. Courtney's obviously, Miss Brownlow, is a very established member of the community. Obviously, she's owns several gyms, so I feel pretty confident if she's going to run it, that it's going to be successful and it's going to be managed correctly. The parking, I think, is the only risk for us, really. It's the type of establishment that we would like in this kind of facility, kind of low impact. So I think I agree with staff that there should be, no parking on the street there during the day or anytime. But other than that, I don't see any issues.
I did a drive-by today. I think it'd be a positive thing for all the local businesses, for their employees, especially ones who want to get in before they get to go to work.
Yeah, be kind of convenient, run over there for lunch or something.
Niche space that you're seeing happening more and more across the country
Yeah,
in the industrial parks.
excellent. Anything else? All right, entertain a motion. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comments.
All right, we have a motion to approve with staff comments, or staff comments include parking.
Include parking. it does.
Okay,
You want
All
to
right.
put the time frame on there? Are you good?
No.
all right. We've got a motion to approve with staff comments. Do we have a second?
There we go. I'll second.
Scott seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A special exception is approved. And we do not, I think it was the last item on our agenda for tonight. We have anything else, Mitch, that we need to cover?
I'm all good unless you got something.
Nope, I don't. Anything from the board?
I was going to say congratulations for winning your reelection for the
Thank
next
you.
4 years.
Yep, thanks, appreciate it. It was a hard fought one, and I'm glad the campaigning is over. So,
bet.
ready to get started. So, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.